Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi everybody, I'm Mandy Rees and I am based in Birmingham in the United Kingdom, which is right in the centre of the country, about as far away from the sea as you can get. So being a country girl and a seaside girl at heart, living in the city is an interesting challenge for me, but one that I'm adapting to. I'm really thrilled to be here, part of this circle, almost sitting on the sofa with you and sharing this space with you. So my story. Well, I guess if I start where I am now, so I am a feminine empowerment mentor and confidant. And by that, I mean that I hold safe spaces for women to share their stories, to speak their truths, and to share things that perhaps they wouldn't share with anyone else or they haven't expressed out loud, almost peeling back the layers of their personalities, the layers of everything that's kind of piled on top of them to reveal their soul, to reveal their true essence, and so that women become their own cheerleaders, their own guardians, and their own safe spaces, and they're able to live the lives that they want to lead rather than the lives that they think other people think they should lead. So I'm a mum of two amazing daughters. My daughter Grace is 21. My daughter Neve is 17. I'm married and we all live in a Victorian house in Birmingham. So I used to be a real estate lawyer. So I've come on quite a journey, and I have come from the journey of being in a very masculine space to moving into a very feminine space as a result of my own experiences from being in a corporate world to becoming a mum, to learning to respect and love myself, and also to respect, love, and admire other women. So I have a sister. I'm very lucky to have both my parents still around, but I have a mum who has a very tricky relationship with herself and also with other women. So my definition of the feminine and my relationship with the feminine as I was growing up was very difficult and very distant. So I identified very much as a tomboy. I loved horse riding. I was outside all the time. And I didn't find other women or girls to be very easy. I had tricky relationships, experienced bullying from other women when I was at university. And so took on that very mantle of being the achiever, being the good girl, and being the one in the family that did all the things that her parents wanted her to do. One of those was doing a law degree. Not that it wasn't something that I loved, but it wasn't my first choice, but it was definitely what my mum wanted me to do. So I went on and I qualified as a lawyer. I had a very successful career. That's where I met my husband. And then I had my first daughter, Grace, and my world kind of fell apart around me. And I know now from the work that I've done and the knowledge that I've gained that one of the main reasons that I found the transition into motherhood so difficult was that I wasn't able to lean and step into that mothering role because I was in a very masculine space. I still wanted mothering to be like my legal job. I wanted to get the external validation. I wanted a sense of achievements. I had this book that told me that my baby would do these things at certain times if I effectively trained her. I didn't want to do that, and it didn't work for me. And I was very isolated because I didn't have female friendships, because I'd find it so difficult to reach out to women. I didn't learn to ask for help. I was always told that we did things on our own and by ourselves, and that's what strong, tough people do. And if I wanted to succeed in this world, then I needed to be more like a man. So that's what I became. And this isn't anything about men bashing at all, because they are wonderful, just as women are wonderful. But finding our own internal balance is really important. And that's what I had to learn the hard way. It's almost as if I hit a huge brick wall as I became a mum, and I was stuck and I couldn't navigate it. And I ended up suffering from postnatal depression, anxious thoughts, and probably looking back almost on the verge of a breakdown, but I didn't tell anyone about it. I just battled through, carried on, went back to work full time as a lawyer when Grace was 4.5 months old, and just struggled for a long time, really, covering it all up and just going back into that masculine space and just looking at how I was going to achieve and how I was going to get these things done. And actually, going back to work did help to save me to an extent, because it gave me that connection back with my old life, with my old role, and helped me to realize that I could still do the things I wanted to do, even though I was a mum. So I found that transition into motherhood really hard. Fast forward 4 years later, I had my second daughter, Neve. At that point, I had consciously created a bigger community of women around me, which I did find really hard. Stepping into that space and trusting other women was really difficult for me, but I did it bit by bit. I met mums-to-be when I was pregnant, and a couple of them I really resonated with, and I really held on to those friendships on my maternity leave with Neve, and it made such a difference. This time I was lucky. I didn't suffer from postnatal depression. I enjoyed my maternity leave. And that was when I started to realize that the real essence of me was the small child that was very feminine, could be soft, did ask for help, and all of those things that she'd learned not to do, probably from the age of 7 to, 32. And I started to allow this mask that I'd created to fall away. So when Neve was about 4 and Grace would have been 8, both my husband and I working as lawyers was just untenable in terms of having the family balance that we wanted to have. We decided that we didn't want to have a nanny or a live-in nanny. That was our choice. And I know that's different to other people's, but that meant that something had to give. And that was my legal career. So I stepped back from the law and took time to think about what I wanted to do. I started a maternity wear business with my own brand. Did not like that at all. The retail world was just not me. And then I took some time to really consider where I wanted my life to go and who I wanted to work with, and my why. And I realized that my why was to help other women, particularly women transitioning into motherhood as I had. And I wanted to do something that if I could just help one woman not feel the way that I had done when I had Grace, then that to me would be success. And that's what I wanted to do. So I trained as a yoga teacher and a baby massage practitioner, and I started teaching pre and postnatal classes and baby massage classes. And I incorporated a huge element of well-being, so physical and emotional well-being, into those classes. There was always a chance to stretch, relax, share, have a cup of tea and a biscuit afterwards. We'd meet 3 or 4 times a year as big group gatherings, have a Christmas party, started doing evening circles for the mums I supported so that they could continue to share those circle spaces with me after their babies had grown and they'd gone back to work. And then during lockdown, when everything went online, it really kind of brought home to me the importance of that connection. That yes, the yoga was important, the massage was important, and there's huge benefits from those. But really where my zone of genius and my expertise lay was bringing women together to talk truthfully about what they're going through so that they realize that they're not on their own, and also to break down those barriers that we build between each other. So to create circles of trust between women where they support each other, they love each other, and they share, unashamedly sharing their truths. And I want to stop the world batting women against each other, girls bullying each other, girls thinking that the only way they can be successful is if they knock down the girl next to them. That whole concept of we rise together is very much one of my mantras. So coming out of lockdown, when I held lots of these circle spaces online, I decided that I was going to create mother circles. So I don't do yoga classes anymore as such. I don't do baby massage classes. I run pregnancy and mother circles where we come together. We talk, we share, we do relax, we laugh, we cry, we speak very openly. There's some guided well-being exercises, but it's really that fundamental space where women can talk openly and honestly and truthfully about not just the challenges they're facing in motherhood, but the challenges they may have experienced to get to that point, and then the challenges that they can see going forward. So they know that they're not alone. And just having somewhere where you can be entirely yourself is so freeing and so healing. So I create these healing spaces, and I also train other women to run their own Mother Circle businesses. So I've created a training course. So I have women all over the world, actually not in Australia. So that would be amazing to have some people in Australia training with me, and they run their own Mother Circle businesses so that we're having a huge impact. I believe that if we support mothers who have the most important job in the world, then that's how we can change the world. Because when we heal, we also pass that healing on to our babies, and that is so, so important.
Oh, Mandy, that is just absolutely beautiful.
Thank
It
you.
sounds like your whole life came full circle to a point where you really found your calling with what you're doing now.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. So
Yes.
can you explain the concept of sacred feminine wisdom and its significance in empowering female leaders?
Sacred feminine wisdom to me is that heartfelt, gut felt, soul felt instinct when you know that something is right and when you know that you're speaking from your place of truth. And when feminine leaders are able to really tune into that, that's when they find their soul calling and their soul purpose. And that's when they work from a place of authenticity rather than from our ego. And that's when we make the biggest difference and the biggest impact, because we're doing what just feels so right and so true and so natural. And other people do that, and other people are drawn to that. There's almost that magnetic response when you're in the presence of someone who is operating from her sacred feminine wisdom, that you just feel it and you know it, and those people just have that magnetic aura about that. You feel safe with them. There's a real wisdom to it, and I think we can probably all know when we've been in the presence of someone who's really operating from their sacred feminine wisdom. And as a leader, it's truthful, it's honest, you want to work with them, you want to cooperate with them, and you trust them. I think trust is really important.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's awesome that you're helping women to access that part of ourselves that sometimes we've forgotten.
Yes.
So, based on your experience, what are the most common challenges professional women face in balancing personal and professional life?
I think it's the case that you never feel that you're able to do either one of them to the best of your ability. Learning to compromise, I think, is very difficult for professional women, because we tend to, many of us, be in that masculine space at times of seeking external validation, wanting to be the best that we can be, feeling pressure from other people to always be the best. And we can become very, very competitive, and that disconnects us from our feminine truth when we go into that competitive space. And also, I think society still isn't structured to support women in the way that it supports men in professional leadership roles.
That's very, very true. There's a big gap there, disparity. So, how do you help women address and heal from dysfunctional internal and external relationships, especially in the professional setting?
It's going back to your truth. So I help women say things that they probably wouldn't say to anyone else, to express outwardly what they've been holding inside for usually many years. And starting from that point of what's hurting you, what feels heavy, speak it out, speak your truth, and then we unpack where that originated from, because often it can come from messaging, like in my experience, from our parents. Not that they consciously did that, but they have the unconscious programming that they perhaps received from their parents or society that they grew up in. We take that on, something we're putting onto ourselves. Is it our own internal pressures, and understanding where that pressure is coming from, why we're doing this to ourselves essentially, and then reprogramming that by coming back into a feminine space and looking at it through the feminine lens rather than looking at it externally. So not worrying about what other people think, working out what you want to be, the impact you want to make. Presumably you want to be happy as well, rewinding the programming and then almost starting again. So reprogramming from the feminine rather than from the masculine or from the external space.
I love that. It's almost a journey back to yourself.
Yes, because we don't get, once you've kind of, isn't it, once you've hit almost 7, that's kind of your essence, but society, school, opinions of other people, Instagram, everything just gets piled on top of that. And we don't give ourselves the opportunity to slow down, reassess, who am I? Who do I want to be? And also we need to be kind to ourselves, because I think we can then go into that mode where we just criticize ourselves. We compare ourselves to other people, go, well, I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that. And that's just part of your story to get to where you are now. So also encourage the women I work with to be really kind and compassionate with themselves as we go through this process, because it isn't always easy, and to just try and shed that kind of self-blame and do everything from that place of, I'm strong, I'm brave, I'm kind, I'm a really good person, and I have every right to live the life I want to lead. And if that means a change in relationships, a shift in dynamics within a house, yes, it's a difficult process, but it's one that we go through together. So I very much hold people's hands through the process. I think women as well, we find many of us in professional roles and leadership roles find that asking for help and being vulnerable to be very hard. So encouraging vulnerability is a huge part of what I do, because I know as a woman in the role I was in, and when I became a mum, I couldn't ask for help because I hadn't learned that vulnerability is strength. I'd actually been told that it was a weakness. So again, I had to unlearn that whole thought process around vulnerability.
How did your experiences as a mother returning to work influence your understanding of the challenges faced by career women?
Well, I had no understanding of what it was like to be a working mum until I became a working mum. And then you look back and you think, I was so unforgiving of the poor women who were working above me, who had children, when you just think, well, surely that they go into nursery, or you just get a nanny and you sort these things out. And then when you become a mum, you're just like, oh no, it's not as easy as that. It doesn't work like that. So it really shifted my empathy and understanding of those women. Although I had the experience of lots of the women above me in law were of the generation when they had no support. So they did go back to work within like 2 weeks of having had their babies. And I heard stories of, waters breaking and partners meeting and then marking up documents while they were in labour. So that was the role model that I had. So when I became a mum, I thought I had to be like them. So when I couldn't be, it was even harder. So I made a conscious effort that when the people I mentored or I worked with in law became pregnant, to say to them, do it your way, take the full maternity leave. Your career is always going to be here for you. This is such an important time of your life. So my experience, I hope, made me a much more understanding mentor of the women who came after me and had their babies. But honestly, until I'd had children, I had absolutely no concept of what it was like to be a working mum. It's hard. It's really hard.
So can you discuss your personal journey from operating in the masculine to a more feminine leadership style, and how it transformed your approach to life and work?
Yes, gosh. See, I think I didn't appreciate that I was operating in a masculine style because it was my normal mode of operating for such a huge chunk of my life. And you know, as most of us, it did serve me well. You know, it served a purpose. I trained, I qualified as a lawyer, I had a successful career. So to all intents and purposes, it worked well for me. Now I operate from the feminine. I look at things. I don't put so much pressure on myself. I acknowledge my successes. Whereas before, when I was in my masculine, all I did was focus on what I thought were my failures.
Yes.
You know, the successes were like, oh yeah, that's fine, I've done that, but I didn't do that. Whereas now I did that, and that was amazing. And I had so many women come, and, you know, it was transformative for them. So I acknowledge my successes. Yeah, I acknowledge my failures, but I don't dwell on them. Whereas in my masculine, I'd really focus on the things that I hadn't done or hadn't gone right. I'm much more collaborative in the way I work. So I work collaboratively with people. I share things freely. I don't come from a place or I try really hard not to come from a place of ego. You know, I check in whether I'm doing something because I want other people to think I'm amazing, or because I want to do it so it will be amazing. I think when I was in my masculine, I was very much about, well, I want other people to look at me and go, oh yeah, she's amazing at this work. So, that kind of whole external validation thing. I don't see other women as a threat anymore. I think the biggest lesson I've learned through the work I've done with women, and if you were, even my husband said this, he said, gosh, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been in my contemplation that you would run a business that works exclusively supporting other women, because you actually found other women really difficult. And I did find other women really difficult. They were either my competitors, or I'd think, well, she's a safe woman because she's not going to compete with me. So I'd either be, you know, I'd walk into a room and I'd weigh them up. Who are the safe women? Who are the scary, competitive women? And I do that. You know, you go into the networking meeting, you think, well, she looks safe and she looks utterly terrifying. So I judge people. You know, I'd have those judgments that I don't do now. I just accept everyone for who they are, and I think because I've been constantly surprised over the years that the people I thought would be scary aren't.
Yes.
And the people who might not look scary can be.
That's an interesting observation.
And
so what is the sisterhood belief system coaching or mentoring, and how does it contribute to resolving conflicts amongst women?
So the concept of that is that when you work with me one-to-one, we drill it back down to that unpeeling, that going back to who you are. We look at, because most of the women I work with have come through the competitive corporate world. We tend to, unfortunately, have not so positive stories of the way women have treated us and the way we've treated women. You know, I'm as guilty of being an unfriend to women as they have to me. So we peel it back to that layer, again, going back to that kindness, compassionate place, and we work out where your relationship with women is right now. Are there any particular women in your life that are causing you distress or upset? Have there been in the past, or are there women going forward that you can see to be difficult, or you feel that they're difficult? Yes. Looking at where that might be coming from, all the reasons. But we also have a circle element. So when you work with me, I try to encourage everyone to take the circle option as well, so that you're held by a group of women. Because as I'm sure you know, the power of a circle space of other women is truly transformative. Yeah. But lots of women find that really scary. Like, well, why would I want to meet other women that I don't know? Why would I want to talk to them openly? Why would they be interested in me? Why would they be interested in them? It's all a bit witchy woo woo, you know. Are you going to be dancing naked around fires in the garden? Well, you can, but it's not compulsory. You know, that kind of thing. So I have that group circle element within my coaching, because that's where I feel that the barriers between women really break down. And I know from my journey that simply by allowing other women to hold me and trusting other women, it's impacted the way I parent. It's impacted my daughter's relationships with the feminine and with women. It's healed my relationship with my sister, which was very difficult for a long time. And I think if every woman does her own work individually, but she also does it collectively, then she's going to impact the collective in her little part of the world. And then together we create this momentum and this movement. And that's how we make the change. So I'm
Again,
really keen that every woman does individual but also collective healing work.
there's a massive ripple effect.
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate on the Mother Circle Guide program and its role in fostering feminine leadership?
Yes. So the Mother Circle Guide program is a training program. So it's a feminine leadership program for the woman running the circles. She also
Mhm.
learns how to run circles, to hold space, to clear space, that kind of thing. She gets all the content she needs for her Mother Circles. She gets business support as well. So the idea is she can run her own business, holding Mother Circles for
Mhm.
mums and women. But there's a huge element in it about her own personal journey, understanding her why and understanding her relationship with women and also the feminine. And the reason I created the program is because, well, one, I absolutely love it. And because I sit in Mother Circles, again, I see the transformation they bring, because I encourage all the mums I work with and the women I train to look at mothering from the feminine leadership point. Being a
Yes.
mum is a leadership role. As a mother, you are a feminine leader,
Yeah.
but society doesn't look at motherhood like that. And most
No.
of us don't look at, well, I'm just a mum. Well, actually,
Yeah.
you're not, you're a leader.
More
You're a
than that.
leader of a whole community, of the family that you've created.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of run my Mother Circles, encouraging the mums I sit with, the women I train, to foster that sense of leadership and femininity within the circle space. Again, not
Mm.
to criticize the masculine, not to criticize any male partners that people might have, but just to allow
Mm.
women to realize, you know what, being a woman is amazing. Being a
Yeah.
mother is really important. We are strong together. And obviously, there's only one of me, and I can only see a certain number of mums a week. But if I can train and empower other women to do it all over the world, then if they're seeing 10, 20 mums a week, and I've got, at the moment there's 60 plus people training with me or train, if they're all seeing 10, 20 people a week, then we have that huge ripple effect.
Yeah. Amazing. So, how do you tailor your coaching to meet the unique needs of individual clients? And what does this holistic approach entail?
I listen. So I think the most important thing for any coach or mentor to do is to create the safe space for the woman you're working with to feel that she can really speak her truth.
Yes.
So I spent a long time initially simply allowing her to speak everything
Mm.
she wants to speak, and just to talk and to listen and not fix. So it's
Yes.
starting from that point of, I'm not going to offer any suggestions at the moment. I'm not here to throw things at you. This is your opportunity to talk into this space, and I will listen, and I won't judge, and just say everything that you feel that you want to say. So we start
Yes.
from that point, and then, because I have got the logical side, so I can go into that very logical space, but my holistic view is looking at that woman as a whole, and how does she want to feel herself, but how does she want to fit within the
Yeah.
world, and how does she want to fit within her family? So I can offer coaching, business planning, but I also can do breathing exercises. I can offer yoga. So lots of the women, we need the yoga to connect with our bodies, because when we connect with our bodies, we connect with our feminine, and we come back into that intuitive space. I also do things like oracle card reading sometimes as part of my coaching, if that calls to the women. I can do energy healing work, which is like a bit like Reiki. So
Mhm.
it's so bespoke for each individual woman that I work with, depending on what
Their
she feels
needs.
calls to her and what her
Yeah.
needs are.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely beautiful. So, my last question for you is, how do you establish circle spaces within the corporate setting? And what impact do these spaces have on feminine employees?
Creating them in the corporate space is really simple, but really difficult, because it's getting the buy-in of the corporates. That's the
Yeah.
hardest thing, getting the corporates to accept that they're needed. And the easiest way to do them is to do them virtually. So offer them something like monthly within a corporate space, that all the women within that team or that office or that corporate structure as a whole can meet
Yes.
virtually, setting that space, saying it's confidential, everyone can speak their truth, and just holding the space there. So,
Yes.
it's that active listening space. It's being a container where women can speak into and know that whatever they share is held safely. I think confidentiality is really, really important within the corporate space. But it's getting the corporate world to value. I think more women would be happier in their roles and be more likely to stay within the corporate sphere if they had something like a circle to be able to speak into.
That is so true. So let's finish off with your 3 nuggets of wisdom. If I could take you back to that young woman who was in the corporate world, becoming a young mom, if I could take you back and you could go back and give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
The first one would be to find yourself a role model. So find yourself a woman who resonated with you, who would support you, and go to her. The second one's tied in would be don't be afraid to be vulnerable and tell people in that corporate world when you're struggling, because it doesn't mean you're going to get the sack, which is what I thought. So don't be afraid to ask for help within that corporate environment. And the other one would be to just take some time out to work out whether this is really what you want to do, and just check that you're not just caught up on that treadmill of doing this because you've done the degree and you've done the training and that's what you think people expect. So to have that internal check-in, either on your own or go and get a coach, get a mentor, that whole asking for help piece, which I think probably ties my 3 nuggets together. Make sure that this is what you want to do rather than what you think other people expect you to be doing.
I love it. What a beautiful way to end our interview. Mandy, thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence today.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this space for us to be able to share our stories. It's really important. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
All these stories need to breathe. They need to breathe.
Yeah, they do.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is bringing you stories from all over the world, from phenomenal women, to uplift you, inspire you, energize you, guide you so you don't have to struggle in life. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Mandy, thanks again for the interview. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.